Okay, we're ready.
Okay. All right, at this time, I'm going to call the March 1st Board of Commissioners meeting to order. We will start off with a prayer from Commissioner Santella and the pledge by Commissioner Wyatt.
Dear Lord, we thank you for this day and for the opportunity to be together to serve our friends and neighbors. We ask that you be with us and keep us safe and allow us to make wise decisions. And also, we're mindful of the conflict going on in Europe, and we ask that you would be with the folks there and take care of them and their families. In your son's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, gentlemen. Leslie, go ahead with roll call.
Roll call, District 1 Chairman John Black,
Here.
District 2 Commissioner Gary Heberling,
Present.
District 3 Commissioner Bill Sarkella,
Here.
District 4 Commissioner Roger Ballard,
Here.
District 5 Commissioner Joel Wyatt.
Yes.
Okay, moving on to the adoption of our agenda. I would entertain a motion to adopt the agenda with an addition to allowing time for our FFA to come in and do a presentation at 2 o'clock. So moved. Support. There's a motion of support. Is there discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Moving on to our meeting minutes from February 15th. If there's no additions or corrections, I'd entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Support. We have a motion from Commissioner Ballard and support from Commissioner Sarkella. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Moving on to correspondence, petitions, and introductions. There was some correspondence and it's there on your sheets. We will now move on to commissioner reports and we will start with Commissioner Wyatt.
We'll start with last night. I zoomed in on a meeting with the DDA of Lexington, the village of Lexington. They're looking to establish a greater area to be incorporated under the taxation of the DDA, and listen to what their perspective is on it and how they're looking to add probably a third to a half more properties. Let's see. Anybody want a quick synopsis of what a DDA does? So a DDA, state legislature authorized the provisions for downtown development authorities to capture taxes. And they capture taxes by, once they're established, the tax rate or the taxes generated that year remain at the same rate for the municipality to receive and to use as operational funds going forward for the extension of the term of the DDA. So say, for example, 20 years. And after that first year, any increases in property taxes and the generation of taxes goes directly into the DDA. And the DDA has the flexibility of using those funds to authorize and assist in renovations of the downtown area to help generate traffic or create an atmosphere where property values go up and the like. So for example, they might assist building owner A with the rebuilding of its front facade, right, to spruce up the place. They might move funds that way, or they might take money and buy a piece of property and either demolish it or fix it up, all with the aim and goal of improving the downtown area itself. And it would be realized in increased traffic, increased revenues from increased property values, and things like that. They also, however, of particular interest are a tax capturing entity that gets a slice of all the millages. They call that a taxing institution. So all the DDAs in, for example, Santella County get a percentage like 0.00097 or something like that of the various millages. So when we talked about millages like we've been doing for the last 6 months, and it talks about additional entities that are capturing taxes, DDAs are one of those entities that by state law are allowed to do so. So whenever we have a millage that is up for vote by either the commissioners to be put on the ballot or renewals or whatever, it says in that millage language usually that it allows capture of some of those funds to be used for various other entities. It doesn't tell you what they are, and you wouldn't know unless you inquired. we did ask that question a couple of weeks ago or a couple of meetings ago. I don't remember with what millage, if they knew if there were any entities that had captured those funds. And indeed, a DDA is one of them. So Croswell has a DDA, I know. Lexington Village has a DDA, and I'm not aware of any other communities. Maybe there are some that you guys know of that I'm unaware of. They all get a little slice of that millage money, right? And then they use it for that purpose. Now I asked, say, for example, how does that help the Village of Lexington in this case have additional revenue to counteract the additional costs of operation as we move forward 20 years when they don't get any increase in that? And they said, well, the DDAs can be used to do public infrastructure projects. So if a sewer went, the DDA can also help with that sewer repair. So really, it looks like the taxpayers' money that is paid in taxes goes through another institution to be decided upon whether or not it's used for one project or the other. So it's not just in this case, the village council that makes that direction, but it's the DDA as well. It's another entity or organization that's doling out the funds that we pay in our taxes. And I'm sure the guy on the meeting last night said that, it shows great benefits and the flexibility that they have to give out money to improve, let's say, the way a building looks, which brings more people in. And it's a thing that, your average city or township or rather a village can't do. They can't give money to John Block's business to improve his business, but not this other one, but the DDA can. So it's got some benefits, and it's definitely something that should be taken into consideration. I see it as, how does a municipality deal with the increasing costs of providing services to the village in this case, when they aren't able to capitalize on that increased taxing brought in from increased property values. But that's it in kind of a nutshell. And it's worthwhile noting that all gathers money also out of millages. And that's one of the differences where a DDA can capture money out of millages where a village can't, right? So that's another way that they create a bank account in order to do that. And then I went to Fremont Township before that, and they were talking about the wind turbines that will be going in, and invariably wind turbines will be going into Speaker and Fremont Township. My understanding there'll be roughly 50 of them. And they did have a public hearing last year on an ordinance increase for the height. They'll be among the tallest in the state. My understanding is they got a 600-foot height restriction. So that's going on. And they'll have a public hearing coming up about the variance on the land use sometime in March, if people want to attend that.
Good report. Thank you. Commissioner Ballard.
Last week I attended Flynn Buell, Village of Peck, I believe, meetings. Nothing really out of the ordinary there. Sat in on a webinar with Eagle concerning our project at Evergreen Park as to whether or not we required a permit through that. And we do not, as a low impact project. So that was good to know. Sat in on a couple of meetings, about 4 hours worth with the MCF. I don't know if Tara will have a report on that. There will be more coming out on that in the next couple of weeks. That's it.
Thank you. I have nothing to report at this time. Gary?
Yes, I have 2 weeks ago, after our last meeting, I got a call from a constituent from the township I represent, Watertown, it's my township, that they had a planning meeting and need to be there. I said, I'll go right now. So I got there, it was on 2/17. And so I sat there until about 6:30, it started at 6. So I finally called, nobody was there. So I called one of the board members. I said, so did you cancel the meeting? They said, no. They said, you sure you have the right night? And I said, well, one of your committee members told me it was tonight. So they have a board out there, it scrolls through. So he said, look on the board, it's on 3/17. So that was a little bit early, but yeah. So, some other things I want to talk about. A few of us commissioners have had a couple meetings with the city manager here in Sandusky, and I know Todd and I and the commissioners have talked about it. The city manager would like to have us take a look at tornado sirens that covers the whole county. I'm just going to recap in short. And so I thought, and I think we all thought it was good to have a dialogue with the city manager, hear his side of the view. And we've heard the view of the sheriff's office and 9/11, a few people. And so I think some good come out of it. And now we understand both sides of it. And I know we talked with Todd out in the hall here a few minutes ago. So I think there's been a good dialogue, and we've had understand both sides of the story and what can be done and what can't be done. The other thing I'd like to share with you, Chairman, is I had a call from Cole Wood, which works for our representative, U.S. Representative Lisa McLean, and he wanted me to pass this on here. He's really sick, couldn't make the meeting today. So two things he wanted me to bring up. One is that Lisa has sent an open letter to President Biden, trying to convince him to open up the Keystone Pipeline because of the thing that's going on in Russia and Ukraine right now. She hadn't heard back from him. And the other thing, she sent a letter to President Biden asking him to put specific sanctions on Putin himself. And so that was all he wanted to bring up today. So I just want to pass it on. That's the end of my report.
Thank you, Gary. Bill?
I was able to attend Village of Port Sanilac meeting last week. They meet again tonight, I believe. They declined a building variance, moving forward their Blues Festival and trying to address some issues with their Harbor Commission, and then also moving forward with their master plan. Lexington Township looked at a couple of ordinances in regards to open food and food trucks. They're in discussion again with Croswell over the bike path. And then they approved or looking at DTE streetlight, doing some LED conversions on their streetlights to provide more efficiency there. And then last night, the Village of Lexington discussed their USDA grant money coming in regards to their water project, but they won't receive dollars for that until 2023. And then heavy discussion on the Gilo property because they have some issues with truck traffic. And when Gilo's, when that factory reopened, there really wasn't a lot of residential where it is now. And they're also considering a road possibly into their industrial park. And then their mobile home park management is also under discussion. So that's all I have from.
Question, Bill.
Yes.
Related to the marina in Port Sanilac, they're having some issues and possibly getting rid of the commission that was.
That's already been decided.
As it,
Yes.
but people could expect that all that's going to be open and operating as normal this summer.
Yes. I mean, the biggest thing right now, everybody is aware of is staffing. You know, it doesn't really matter what line of work or what department. So traditionally, the harbor commissioner, or I should say harbor master in Sanilac has always been a stepping stone for employees. And so this individual moved on. I know a couple former harbor masters, when I was on the harbor commission, are now city managers in Lapeer and Emily City and have been around Harbor Beach and where else. So unfortunately, it's part of the process. So hopefully they'll be able to get somebody on board for that part. But a couple of individuals in the village have stepped up to at least help organize and get things in order so they can proceed and open on time.
Good information. Thank you, Bill. Moving on to our administrator's report, Tara.
I attended a couple of meetings with the MREC committee to talk about the wind turbine litigation. So we did review in detail our attorney's changes to the DTE agreement, if you will. So we're working through that. We're talking about strategy for consumers in Exelon. And then I just wanted to make a mention regarding the pending litigation, or the legislation, I should say, regarding the taxable value of the wind turbines. So just so you're aware, we have taken a pause on that for right now while we're in negotiations with DTE. And then also last week, STT Security was on site. We reviewed the first month under their new security contract. So they have identified some equipment needs. So we will be looking at maybe incorporating those into an ARPA grant application. So there'll be more to come on that. And then also, just to kind of touch on Roger's comments, we did have some meetings with HTG Consulting, which is Health Dimensions Group, regarding the medical care facility. We had 2 meetings last week. We did have a meeting with the medical care facility yesterday, and we do have our special meeting coming up on Wednesday, March 9th at 9 o'clock to review the report in full. And then in addition, we have auditors on site right now. So I kind of wanted to give you an update. We're working on a better way to align our reporting process with our component units, which would be the health department and the medical care facility. So I do have auditors on site tomorrow. I want to discuss in detail what changes that we might be able to implement to make it more efficient, if you will. And then in addition, we have to have a single audit. So typically that's of our federal grant funded programs. We have 3 programs this year. So typically we have either 1 or 2. So I was informed that there may be an additional cost for that, anywhere from $2,000 to $4,000. So I will get information on that and get that presented to the finance committee as soon as I can. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Tara. Any questions for Tara? Hearing none, we'll move on. At this time is open to public comments pertaining to agenda items. Are there any public comments? Hearing none, we're going to move on to a presentation from the Human Development Commission, Christy Sutherland. Welcome.
Hi, thank you. Thanks for having me today. I apologize, I was scheduled in January and I came down with something and I don't like to spread that stuff around. So I had to reschedule. So
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I don't remember everybody, but there's.
okay, so what we did this year with our annual, we did an annual aging services report. We're really great at talking about needing money and coming to the senior council and talking about services and what we want to do, but we don't do a very good job at telling you what we have done. So I put together this aging services book. I wanted to bring it to all of you to take a look at to see what Human Development Commission does for people in the community over 60. So if you take a look here, it's got all of our programs that are specific to seniors. So we have lots of programs that fill the whole age spectrum, but these ones here are specific to seniors in our community. If you start on page 5, we talk about case coordination and support. I always call this one of our biggest hidden secrets because it's helping people get the other services they need. You know, it's not handing them a meal or handing them a housekeeper. It's actually getting the assessment completed on a senior and try to help them determine what their needs are. So this report goes back to fiscal year 21. So October 2020 to September 2021. We spent almost 7,000 hours helping seniors, and this is in our 3-county area, determine what their needs are and get them connected with resources. It could be resources that Human Development Commission provides. It could be other resources within the community. So some of the services that we provide that we might connect them with, chore services. So our goal at HDC, as it relates to seniors, is to help seniors stay in their house longer, right? That's what most people want to do. They would prefer to stay home versus go to assisted living, but it also is more economical. You know, we can help put little things in place to help people stay longer. And chore services tends to be one of those things that is difficult first. You know, getting up on a ladder to clean out gutters, washing the windows, basement cleanouts, chores that get done annually or semi-annually around the house. We have a handyman that'll come out and help seniors with that service. They call us and tell us what they need. We do a quick evaluation and we're able to send somebody out. We've only got a couple guys doing it, so it does take a little bit of time to get it going, but so we spent almost 500 hours doing that last year. And that's just time in the house. We don't count their drive time or the time it takes to schedule or the time they drove out and somebody had a doctor's appointment and nobody was there. So this is time actually working. And you see a guy there with grab bars. We do a lot of those too, helping people with the safety of their home as well. So the next page is our congregate meals. In Santella County, we've got our Deckerville site, which is also has a kitchen, our central kitchen in it. And we've got Marlette. At the VFW, we've got Sandusky right at the high rise. And then we'd like to open our Sanilac site. We're still working with, or I'm sorry, our Lexington site. We've got staffing shortage there right now. So when we shut down for COVID, we haven't been able to get that one back up and going. But so for last year, we provided Congregate in 2 different ways. We provided it curbside where people could come and pull up and grab their meal. And then we also started dine-in towards the end of the year. And we are completely dine-in now. But if you look at that meals, almost 50,000 meals went out to seniors through this program alone. And these are for your more able-bodied seniors that can still get out of their home. I know I mentioned that our goal is to keep them in their home longer. The congregate nutrition, you think, well, of course you can keep them in their home longer when you're just doing that. But really it increases their socialization. It makes sure they're getting a healthy meal. So it is along that spectrum of staying in their home longer.
So how many times a day you do there? How many times a week you do this? This has nothing to do with Meals on Wheels, I take it.
Well, our next page is Meals on Wheels, but
Okay.
we do 4 days a week for congregate sites.
Is that for consecutive days through the week, or is it,
Yeah.
is it?
That was my
Monday through
question.
Thursday. Mhm. Our Marlette site is closed on Wednesday, but otherwise they're all Monday through Thursday. Yep. So the next page is the home delivered meals or Meals on Wheels program.
What does curbside congregate mean though?
They picked up their meal and left.
So there's no congregate pack.
There is
Functions,
now, but during the pandemic, we did curbside so that we were still getting food out there to people that were not necessarily interested in the home delivered meals, but wanted to get out and come out and get food. They got it in a package and could take it home.
Was that a new addition during COVID?
Yeah,
Is it gonna continue?
no. No, we don't. We struggle with the capacity of doing that and the dine-in. And the dine-in has that extra socialization piece to it.
But they could come into the dine-in, grab a bag and go? Grab a meal and go? No? Okay. We discourage that, right?
Yeah.
Yes, got it. Have a seat and enjoy your meal. Right. Got it.
Are they allowed to bring us a deck of cards and groups will get together and socialize?
Absolutely, yep. Cards are a big thing. Seniors are, right now, you
There's 3 of us here.
is the exciting part. And then we do have later in there, but we did have hire an activities coordinator for this fiscal year to kind of bring up participation and come up with some more things to bring people in and to get people more comfortable with coming. So yeah, we encourage that part too. So the next page is our home delivered meal program, or Meals on Wheels, which I know we're all very, very familiar with. In last fiscal year, over 200,000 meals went out. So we do hot meals. Usually people get 1 hot meal a day, Monday through Thursday. But then we also provide cold stack lunch, frozen meals. Frozen meals helps them get usually through the weekend, but you know, we can do up to 21 meals per week. And each meal is a third of their daily nutrition value. So they could potentially get that, but that's all based on that assessment that comes up in the beginning. I have some examples on there of the types of people that we might help. It could be long-term where somebody is to the point where they are going to need to, they're not going to get out of their house again. But it could also be somebody that fell and broke their leg and they're not going to be able to get out until that gets rehabilitated. So they might only be on services for 6 months, but that moment in time is when they're homebound. And so that's our goal, is to help people, you know, they might have to be in the nursing home that 6 months if they didn't have our programs. So that's what we do for our Meals on Wheels. Speaking of transportation and being homebound, we do have our senior transportation programs. Bus tickets and tokens were our biggest piece of transportation. We provide them to seniors. We had just asked for a donation And we do in-town and out-of-town for the senior transit. We also have some limited door-to-door volunteers, drivers, where the volunteer will go pick up somebody, take them to a doctor's appointment, to a medical appointment. A lot of times they stop at the pharmacy or the grocery store on the way back home and then takes them home. So that's still limited with the volunteer piece of it. We are recruiting volunteers to continue to be able to do that. With that program, we don't have to stay in Santella County. If they've got a doctor in Port Huron, if they've got a doctor in Saginaw, we can cross those county lines.
Can you answer a question about the Meals on Wheels?
Yeah.
204,000 meals, that's a lot.
Mhm.
What's up? How many in Santella?
Have that specific.
Is it roughly evenly distributed between the 3 counties?
I'm going to tell you Tuscola is a little higher than the other two. If somebody were to ask me about flyers and wanted to send out flyers, I'd tell you 150 people a day we see. But it varies. It varies every single day because some people go off services, people come on back and forth. So in Santella County, I would say we see 150 people a day.
Okay, thank you.
The next page is our homemaking services. So we have independent contractors that provide light housekeeping, again, trying to keep people in their house a little bit longer. And I've got listed the types of things that they do. So 163 people were provided homemaking services last year. And these are based on priority points. We do have a waiting list for this service because it is so highly requested, and a lot of the seniors we see have needs. They've got activities of daily living that they need help with. So we do have a waiting list for this service, but we do have independent contractors, and we are putting people in the homes as much as possible to keep them living at home. So 163 people last fiscal year to the tune of over 6,000 hours. And again, that's hours actually in the home. That doesn't include our travel time to and from the homes. Similar, same type of people do the personal care. Actually, if somebody gets personal care and homemaking services, we put the same person in the home. Because the last thing we need is to have 3 and 4 people in and out of the home every day or every week. We want to keep people comfortable with the same person in their house versus trying to have multiple people. Our personal care usually means bathing. So we can help from somebody that's maybe not, we might run across somebody that's not bathing because they're afraid, jump over or step over the lip of the shower, or they're just afraid that they're going to slip in the shower. So we could have somebody stand by. Let me help you get in, let me help you get out, all the way to full bathing assistance. So again, we're trying to keep those people in their home, and if you can't take a bath, you can't stay at home. So you shouldn't anyway. In-home respite is same thing. If we have somebody that gets all of these services, we keep the same person in there. The in-home respite is really focused on the caregiver though. We call the person our customer that they're staying with, but that's to give a caregiver a break. We can't keep people at home if they don't have healthy caregivers and healthy support systems. A lot of times these caregivers they need to get to their own doctor's appointments. They need to take care of themselves. And so our respite care really is for that caregiver. But the in-home worker does stay with the individual to give that caregiver rest and some time for themselves.
So if an elderly person had surgery and they had to stay in their home or apartment for a couple of weeks and needed care, they would simply call that number?
Yep, they give us a call and we do a full assessment to identify what their needs are. And if it's not something that we can help with, if there's something that they've got beyond what we need, if they need nurse, like we don't have a nurse, if they need nursing assistance, we can help connect them with those resources too.
I would think, like you said a minute ago, getting in and out of the shower or bathtub is probably the biggest challenge.
Yeah. Yep. So moving right along, we also have our caregiver support. We have a caregiver manager. We also have a family counselor on staff. The caregiver support, a lot of times is done in a group setting for support groups. We provide training, little techniques to help as people age. Our caregiver manager is really well-versed in dementia care. So a lot of training in that, and she will also do educational sessions. So she'll do presentations or seminars on dementia and the aging process with that. But we also have a family counselor on staff that can help work through some of the difficulties for the caregiver that they run through with that. She does a lot with our Kinship Program, which is our seniors that are taking care of grandchildren or nieces, nephews, families. But, it's a lot different to take care of a kid now than it was 30 years ago. And so navigating this school system or even supportive systems to be able to take care of those, as well as some one-on-one counseling our family counselor is able to do. With that. So 550 hours last year we were able to provide. We did Zoom meetings because we still are finding that people aren't comfortable coming out into a personal setting or individual setting, but then we are doing in person too, for those that want to be in person. Our outreach program, like I said, we try to get people connected with every service. So we have somebody that'll go out and meet with people one-on-one, not necessarily do a full assessment, but they have some needs that they want. They already know they don't need the assessment, but they need to get connected with. And again, our goal is not just to stay within HCC. We want to work in the community with other partners that might have other services that we're not providing. So they do individualized information and assistance. They can do community presentations to a group of people that say, hey, what does HDC do? And they can also do canvassing as far as going like to doctor's offices or places where seniors frequent to make sure that those people have knowledge about what we have to offer and can make those.
What are some other places seniors frequent besides doctor's office? Give me a good one.
A coffee shop.
Okay, that's good. Bowling alley, maybe, I don't know.
Bowling alley, yeah. Yeah. Our commodity supplemental food program, we call a lot of times, we just call it commodities. We do every other month, we do a giant food giveaway. This program is our first income-based program that I'm talking about. So this one is actually income-based, but it provides supplemental food for people over 60. You hear people talk about the senior cheese or the cheese program. That's the commodity supplemental food program. So in this program, we do provide in 6 counties. But last year we did over 40,000 boxes of food for people over 60. And that was in 6 counties. The next 2 pages talk about our volunteer programs. I typically get really excited about these because I started as a volunteer with HDC. But they're focused on seniors, our foster grandparent program and our retired and senior volunteer program. Foster grandparents is income-based. It's based on 200% of poverty. So we do have volunteers. We want to eliminate some of the burdens for low-income people. And so they get a stipend. They get a very small amount to go into the schools and work one-on-one with kids with special and exceptional needs. This program has been quite a challenge over the pandemic, but we were still able to keep 32 volunteers busy, whether it was in person or virtually. We were able to set up some virtual or pen pals. Pen pals was a great option for us because it still promoted reading and writing for the kids and let us be able to keep that contact intergenerationally.
So the foster grandparents actually sat with the child in the classroom, that you said?
Yep, we do have that.
Are there opportunities for those who do not meet those income requirements?
Yes, they just don't get a stipend. So we have relationships with the schools that we're able to put volunteers in the schools to work one-on-one with the kids. But we can't provide that stipend for them.
But you facilitate getting them in there.
Yep. So They'd be in the RSVP or Retired and Senior Volunteer Program. That one has no income limit. And I've always called that program the Matchmaker Program. Our goal is to know where volunteer opportunities are for seniors in the community, and then have seniors come us and we can personalize that matchmaking.
Didn't have an age on that. So what makes a senior for
55 on those ones.
55?
Mhm. I'm sorry.
Wow, all right.
Yeah, come on out. We'll take it.
Better screen him first.
We do background checks on all volunteers. So our last page is our Elder Advocacy Program. That's our newest program. HDC was kind of the leader in the state with taking on elder advocacy or elder abuse services. I've got on there the 6 types of elder abuse. We see it all. And we've worked with 52 people on either getting out of their victimization service or coming up with a plan to stay out of being victimized. So we have a couple of staff that work with them. Our family counselor, again, also works with them. And we see a lot of financial exploitation, which is tough. There's not a good solution once it's already been done, but we try to work with people in the community to recognize that. I know the banks have become very, very cognizant and come up with plans when they suspect that there's been some exploitation. So we're looking ahead to the future. I mentioned we have the activities coordinator. We're trying to get things up and going, but I do really appreciate you taking the time to listen to me. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Any questions for Christy?
I just turned 60 and I'd like help with my gutters.
All right.
Just heard what?
I lied.
He also has dementia.
Christy, that was a great presentation. We
It was
appreciate
very
you being
good.
here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Christy. All right, moving on. We have no appointments to standing committees. We have no county commissioner appointments or chair appointments, no general resolutions. So we will start down to committee reports, and we will start with Commissioner Bill Santella.
Just sat on a Zoom meeting with the Child Abuse Prevention Council. Finally able to get together with them, approve their bills, and they're looking at probably doing some promotional things in April. And just went through everything with them to get them up and running for the year. BPW, we met recently and we had an organizational meeting, but no projects at this point in time. MSU Extension Advisory Board recently had a presentation, pollinator program. I found that was interesting. It was related to the bees. They have a program where individuals can get involved, and actually a Heroes to Hives program. So for veterans to get involved with beekeeping as well. Michigan's been tough on the bees. Last year, they lost 51% of their bee population through the winter. Normally it runs 10 to 15. So there's some mites and a whole variety of different things that are affecting that. But just another good thing that MSU Extension does. I don't know if folks are aware, but Michigan sends 100,000 bee colonies to California every year. And now they're there for their California almonds. And the MSU Extension has decided to make their no fee for 4-H involvement. They're going to do that permanently now instead of, so they decided to pull that. And then I said BPW and CAPC, that was the 3 committee meetings I attended.
Excellent report. Thank you. Commissioner Heberlin?
Yes, our next planning meeting is coming, a county planning meeting is coming up here soon. And just give you a brief update. One of our goal is for 2022 is to work on the master plan for the county. And we put an RFP in our website 2 months ago, I guess. And we'll be opening up the bids at our next meeting, and we quickly want to identify who that consulting firm is going to be. That's going to help us revise and update our county planning documents. And second of all, as Tara already mentioned, we've had several meetings with the medical care facility, and we had an outside audit come in, so we're working on that. Commissioner Ballard and I are part of that, and Christy Bender and Tara. So hopefully we're moving forward with some good progress and some recommendations. And then tonight, we have our Parks and Recreation Board meeting, and we are looking at hiring a director for that. I don't know if Roger wants to talk any more about that, but our parks are doing extremely well. A lot of new people showing up at our parks, and we've got a great resource in our county for that. That's the end of my report.
Thank you. So you covered the planning commission, Gary. We're working on the master plan, so that'll be the big work this year. I did meet with city manager of Sandusky, Dave Faber, today to discuss the tornado siren issue. I'll be having another meeting on that shortly. And I did reach out to our health director, Bryant, yesterday to just touch base with him. I think everybody in the news has seen that this COVID thing is looking like it's going to be in our rearview mirror, hopefully. And they're moving forward with starting to fire up all their services that they were working on before. So that's good news. That's all I have. Roger?
Like Gary said, we do have a Parks Board meeting tonight. We have a lot of projects in the works. One of them is on our finance agenda, the boardwalk and a new stairway at Lexington Park, which the stairway got taken out by ice and age. So hopefully we can move forward on that shortly. Our project at Evergreen, we're working on details of that. That's going to be a long process. We have to have our application in April 1st for the grant, the $687,000 project. And we're still awaiting word from the state legislature on our grant for Forestry Park. It's been approved by the DNR, but we haven't heard from the state yet. And that's about it.
Thanks, Roger.
Well, we had a personnel meeting today with Commissioner Heberling and myself. First on the docket was the sheriff's office. It's a memorandum of understanding. So we have a policy that requires for any vacant positions, however, you get a vacant position, have to go through the personnel committee, have an opportunity for the personnel committee to have a discussion with the department head in terms of, is this a position we want to continue filling? Do we want to change the job description? Can maybe some of these roles be picked up by other job descriptions or other, employees? The whole point being is with the idea to deliver efficient service, at a level that is sustainable. And if we have an opportunity to reduce an employee footprint, where there's an opportunity where a position has become available, we do so, all in mind of, watching that bottom line. So this has been going on for a couple of years. The sheriff's office has a unique position where they roll through staffing quite regularly because as an office or an organization, they're constantly under demands and pressures that we don't see in other county services. So with that in mind, there's a memorandum of understanding in regards to that policy that allows them to fill those positions as they see through the year. When we review this memorandum, we have a discussion with the sheriff and we ask about the future and in the past and are these positions needed? And you see an anticipated increase in staffing that you're going to need going on down the road. Basically have that general discussion that we would otherwise have with an independent department when that position is filled. But due to the nature of a public, what's the word? Public
Safer.
Yeah, safety. They need to fill those positions as soon as possible. So that's worked out well. Also with the probate court, they had a position to fill. We followed the policy and had a meeting regarding that. And as well with the Parks Commission, we authorized the position of a director of the parks. We talked about that before. It's a well-deserved position that's needed by the parks. We've seen a tremendous expansion and improvement and hard work by the Parks Board themselves. And it's time for a director. With that, they have some language to clean up. And at that point, they'll be putting that position out for posting and we'll see where that goes. That's it.
Thank you. Moving on, we have no unfinished business, so we will move into new business. We will start out with FA 032-22, approval of 2022 current claims.
Sand Lake County Board of Commissioners hereby approves the payment of current claims for 2022 identified on the accounts payable report dated February 22nd, 2022 for the general bank account in the amount of $139,135.07.
Support.
We have a motion from Commissioner Santella and support from Commissioner Ballard. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. We'll move on to FA 033-22, budget adoptions, amendments, appropriations, and transfers.
Sand Lake County Board of Commissioners hereby approves the following budget amendments, transfers, and establishes the following accounts as listed.
We have a motion from Bill. We have support from Commissioner Heberlein. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Moving on to FA 034-22, authorization to purchase packing system, Sheriff's Office.
Support.
Sand Lake County Board of Commissioners hereby authorizes the Sheriff's Office purchase a Guardian Property Room Expander 5, along with the property and evidence packaging system from CPI Guardian at a cost not to exceed $22,980 with funding from the Inmate Commissary Fund.
Support.
We have a motion from Commissioner Sarcella and support from Commissioner Ballard. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Moving on to FA 035-22, authorization of the Rave Mobile Safety Annual Smart 911 License Fee Renewal, Central Dispatch.
Sand Lake County Board of Commissioners hereby authorizes a one-year renewal for the Rave Mobile Safety Annual Smart 911 license fee not to exceed $5,350 with funding from the 911 millage.
Support.
We have a motion from Commissioner Sarcella and support from Commissioner Heberlein. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Moving on to FA 036-22, authorization to purchase replacement radio equipment, Central Dispatch.
Sand Lake County Board of Commissioners hereby authorizes thumb radio to replace critical equipment to ensure the continuation of the Sand Lake County communication system at a cost not to exceed $2,480 with funding from the 911 millage.
Support.
We have a motion from Commissioner Sarcella and support from Commissioner Heberlein. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Moving on to FA 037-22, approval of architectural schematic for the proposed animal control shelter building and grounds.
Sand Lake County Board of Commissioners hereby approves the building and grounds supervisor to contract with Booms Construction to prepare an architectural schematic of the proposed animal control shelter at a cost not to exceed $12,000 with funding from the building and grounds budget.
Support. Discussion.
We have a motion from Commissioner Sarcella and support from Commissioner Wyatt. Go ahead with discussion.
So we did get some paper time on the animal control project, 1.5 million to be spent. I had a couple of phone calls. I don't know if you guys got any phone calls. People concerned about what seems to be exorbitant costs, but there's a couple of things that have to be said about that. First of all, state legislature enacted and authorized county boards in 1972 to actually adopt ordinances specifically to have animal control facilitated by the county and to not only have that ordinance, but the provisions for maintaining an employee, the buildings, and the financing of that is borne on the county. So we have the authorization to do that, and we have the responsibility to do that, as Dawn had alluded to from dispatch, that they get a lot of calls for that. So we're the agency to do it. It also talks about the fact that you're to follow the provisions of MDARD, which is a regulatory agency in charge of animals and things like that. And you've got to follow specific guidelines and requirements in order to have a facility like that. And you could almost say that we've been kind of dealing with what we've been dealing with for the last, how many years has this place been over there?
Oh, we got a 50-year lease. I think we've been in there 30 something.
You know, a long time. It's not making do, and it's certainly not following the requirements that MDARD requires us to follow. So, you know, there's a lot of expenses in that Joe homeowner or Bill the farmer wouldn't have to have for his livestock to be in a barn. You know, yeah, $1.5 million sounds like a lot to house a couple of mutts, but it's much more intense than that. And it has to follow regulations. So that's one of the reasons why. And also, just for those who need to know, we're not looking at spending the entire amount on the part of the county's budget. There are some grants available that we're pursuing that will contribute a large part of this. So it won't be borne on the backs of taxpayers completely in terms of the funds that they provide. So that's worth saying.
And I just to add to what you've said, Nick already addressed that in the last meeting we're in about, the things we have to do, and we pulled that out by state law. And the other thing, I think most of you know by now, we've used that facility for what, 30, 35 years. And I think we had a 50-year lease or 60-year, I don't remember. But basically the city's been letting us use that in their property. And obviously we take care of it. But one of the nice things about it, talking to the city manager, and I think Nick touched on that in the last meeting, they're willing to give us a piece of property to build that building. So I think we've saved a lot of money over the years by having the city, give us a facility to use,
I think also it's worthy to emphasize that, the job of the animal shelter, or the animal control rather, is for public welfare, safety and health, right? And that's exactly the kind of things that ARPA funds are designed to address. And so with ARPA funds being, one could consider certainly once in our lifetime to have fundings available to this degree, that, it makes sense that we would put it towards projects like this because it benefits the county as a whole. Certainly everybody who's ever had, a dog threatening their livestock or their children or whatever, and all they have to do is dial 911 and they'll get somebody out there that'll take care of that. That's a benefit to every Sand County taxpayer and resident, and it's something that's worthy of funding of this nature.
I think it's worth noting too, buildings and grounds. Bill and I had a conversation about this, and correct me if I'm wrong, Bill, but I think the mentality we're bringing to this is let's build something that's going to last. Let's build something long-term. And that's another reason why maybe that price seems a little high, but we're not looking to build something for 20 years. We're looking to build something for the long term.
Yeah, it by no means seems to be extravagant. And today's motion is specifically towards obtaining the engineering plans and building it out on paper so that we can go through the process of applying for those grants we spoke of earlier.
Very good. Any further discussion on FA 037-22? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. At this time, we finished our new business. This is the time for general public comments. Does anybody have anything, TV?
May I speak?
Absolutely. The floor is yours.
I had recently passed out some of these forms and hopefully you each got one. There's a new program and these are ARPA funds. Okay, and so Michigan has this new Michigan Homeowner Assistance Fund program. And we had a program earlier, like in 17, I think it was called Step Forward that Michigan did. And it was beneficial to our taxpayers if they were behind. This program is something they can apply for online or a telephone call. It's COVID related, they got behind. It would help pay, of course, delinquent property taxes. It's got a list, I think, on the back side of your page. Delinquent mortgage expenses, delinquent land contract payments, property taxes, condominium association fees. And we have associations out on the lake shore. I know that sometimes they come in and put liens on these properties because they haven't paid their fees. Delinquent utilities such as gas, electric, water, sewer, delinquent broadband. This program, we got like $50,000 or $60,000 last time in delinquent property tax payments through the state. And the state sends the money right to us or right to wherever these funds are due to. So this program just came out. It is, like I said, ARPA funds, American Rescue Plan Act. It says that who would qualify? Pandemic-related financial hardship that occurred on or after January 21st, 2020. Currently own and occupy the home as their primary residence and have an income equal to or less than 150% of the area median income. So it's like $25,000 is the max due to a household. It looks like another good program. They said it was easier to qualify and easier to apply to than the last one was. There was a lot of hoops you had to jump through, and so I'm hoping that if you could spread the word to your townships, maybe. We did a mailing. I was talking in the department head meeting this morning. We did a mailing to anyone that still had 19 taxes owing, mail them all this information. I believe we put something in the newspaper too. It might be out this week, but we want to spread the word if it's at all possible. And I'll leave some of these. I think there's some in the hallway upstairs, but I'll leave some down here too.
So who do they contact?
There's a link and there's a phone number on the very back in the bottom. Oh, no, here you go. You got. See on the bottom, I believe there's a phone number. You know, some of our residents, I'm a firm believer that a lot of our seniors, you know, and Chrissy did a nice job of doing her presentation today, but most of the seniors in our county are living at or below the poverty level. And, you know, it's hard to maintain a home and get assistance. So that's what we want to do, is just spread the word on this. So if there's any other questions, let me know. Or if you hear of anybody and they have questions, have them call.
Good information. Thank you, Trudy.
Yes, appreciate it.
I think some of our municipalities would even appreciate the county treasurer being there to present
Oh,
this
to
to them.
present that. Yes, thank you. I'd be happy to do that. You know I would. Thank you.
Okay. Is there any further public comments? Hearing none, we're going to pass over closed session. There's no need for closed session meeting minutes. And it is 1:57 and we have our FFA students here to do a presentation time. Trudy, just let them know we're ready.
Couldn't find that anymore. Same.
No, this is from the clerk.
Hi.
Hello.
John, how you
I know, I
doing?
was like, I'm the one you talk to. We're intruding on the meeting. So can I shift your room just a little bit?
Yeah, if you need, that's
All right,
fine.
if you guys want to bring 2 chairs here, 2 chairs here. Brooklyn, I'm going to shove you in the corner.
You're in trouble.
How you doing?
Okay, so you want me to like explain the scenario?
Yeah, a little bit, please.
Mhm.
All right. Thank you all for like joining in on this impromptu presentation. So these guys are members of the Santella FFA chapter that's out at the Santella Career Center. They have been doing different levels of the contest called an Ag Issues Contest. So they're presenting on an ag or natural resources issue that is not an easily solved one. So they have to provide both pros and cons to both sides of it without showing bias to one side or the other. I'm going to apologize to you guys because you guys might not be able to see their props or whatever. The traditional stage would have them at tables and we have some pieces and stuff because they're actually going to role play a town hall meeting or a conversation at a town hall. And so they'll do their presentation, but then they'll somehow stand up. And you guys at that point are free to ask them any questions on the subject matter. So they're going to be talking about the proposed solar field that is wanting to go in at Watertown Township. And so you can ask them any question that just comes to your brain on the subject matter, and hopefully they'll be able to have an answer for you. So during the skit, they're going to be role playing certain things, but then when it's question answering, it's just open to anybody. They're just back to being high school kids answering questions on the subject matter. The presentation's only like 11 or 12 minutes, and then however long you guys ask them questions.
So Jen, they've already qualified and done well at district and regional.
Yes, yep.
Now
So
they're
they
headed
made
to
it
the
a
state.
District level, they had placed in the top 2 in order to make it to regionals, and for the top regionals, you had to make it in the top 2. So now they're going to go next week to Michigan State University to present at the state FFA convention, where they're competing against the top 2 of all the regions in the state, which there's 6. So there's 12 teams total that are competing at the state level contest. FFA, for whatever reason, has this one contest where they're required to do these public forums for this contest. So you guys are one of 5 that they are presenting in front of. So So I have something for you to sign when we're done.
Okay.
Since they've been here, but I will let them go and I'll jot down the questions that you guys are asking so that they can go look up anything they may not know. Because at contests, it is business and industry people that are the judges. So again, it can just be any random questions that they may get. So any questions you could ask would definitely help them. Okay. All right. You guys speak up.
I bring this meeting to order at 9 a.m. on March 9th, 2022. Welcome all. My name is Brooke Jansen, and I'm the director of the Watertown Township Planning Commission. These last few weeks, we have been revising our solar ordinance in order to provide better guidelines for the newfound curiosity putting large solar energy systems in our area. Currently in Michigan, there are a total of 66 solar installations. The closest one to this area being in Lapeer County. Their solar field is 880 acres smaller than the ones proposed in Watertown Township. Therefore, this large-scale solar field has become a very controversial topic. So we are here to discuss and listen to any concerns regarding the solar fields that could be possibly placed in our township and or any other issues regarding this project. Let's begin today's discussion with a representative for the solar company that is looking to further this project in our township.
Hello, my name is Sarah Worminger. I'm a representative from Samsung C&T Solar Company. I am here to inform the community of the proposed solar project and the need for clean energy in your area. Starting off, I would like to publicize our need for renewable energy opportunities throughout rural areas just like yours here in Watertown Township. This project will include 1,300 acres of private-owned farmland and will provide enough energy for 30,000 homes.
My name is Carly Kruger. I'm a township citizen and I live a mile of the planned solar project. I do agree our energy hungry population needs to find an alternative source of energy, but solar panels are not the best option. The solar panels are 17% less efficient than wind turbines. Our farmland is still very valuable, which makes wind turbines a better alternative for our area.
I'm Isabel Stoutenberg, a local farmer who rents farmland in Watertown Township. I agree with Carly. My personal research, I have found that solar panels take 5 to 7 acres of land to produce a single megawatt, whereas wind turbines take 1 to 2 acres to produce the same amount of energy. Therefore, wind turbines are more beneficial for rural areas. Putting solar on prime farmland takes it out of agricultural production.
That is not fully true because there are other opportunities for the land to still be vital to agriculture. For instance, pollinator habitats, conservation cover crops, agrovoltics, and rotational livestock grazing within the solar fields.
Could you explain what agrovoltics are?
Agrovoltics are crops grown in between the solar panels to optimize the land's potential without damaging ecosystems. The solar panels move with the sun during the day, which helps provide shade for the plants, and vegetation also thrive better in more shaded areas. Some of these crops are kale, tomatoes, lettuce, and carrots. They also use up to 50% less water to grow. The opportunity of agrovoltics within the panels will provide the ecosystem with food sources for animals, be harvested as a crop, can increase soil health, and improve water quality.
I've heard of rotational livestock grazing before, but could someone explain what it looks like when it comes to a solar field?
Hi, my name is Becca Egging, and I'm one of the residents in Watertown Township who is looking into putting solar panels on my land that I currently rent to farmers. I have been doing research on the dual use of land with solar fields. For example, one opportunity is grazing sheep under the solar panels to help keep the land active in the agricultural world. This will allow our small sheep population in our state to increase. Having sheep roam the solar fields would also help reduce the need for mowing the grass between the panels.
There is not a sustainable market for sheep production throughout our state with only 2,000 sheep producers. Currently in Michigan, there is not a large enough sheep population to be able to supply sheep for under all the solar panels. And the landowner has to decide prior to construction if they're interested in grazing sheep because of the need for the panels to be placed higher off the ground.
With placing sheep under the panels, the sheep get fed from the vegetation. This will reduce the need for upkeep of the growing vegetation around the panels. The landowner also receives payment for allowing them on their land. If sheep aren't beneficial in your area, there are other opportunities such as pollinator habitats and conservation cover crops.
With pollinators being crucial to crops, it's important to keep pollinators in our area. An estimated 35% of global crop production is dependent on pollinators. In the United States alone, the honeybee brings in $15 billion to our country's crop value. Pollinator habitats in cooperation with agrovoltics under the panels would be a great combination.
But if the pollinator habitats are not maintained properly, it could affect nearby farmers' fields. Many of the plants used in pollinator habitats are considered weeds to farmers. The weed seeds tend to spread to areas that are unwanted.
Green belts and setbacks are in the proposed ordinance revision to keep the weed seeds from spreading to neighboring properties. Groups like the NRCS or Natural Resource Conservation Service and the USDA or United States Department of Agriculture will help fund projects like this. The USDA uses the Conservation Reserve Program to offer guidelines to manage this project.
Losing the preservation of agricultural land is not my only concern with these solar fields. The panels can also impact our water supply. In order to keep the panels at their highest production, there's a need for cleaning them often. Because of the amount of water, they will often dig wells. There are contaminants like lead and cadmium that are said to leak from the panels when washed. All the dirty runoff water can harm the groundwater in our area.
The NRCS Conservation Reserve Program is used to maintain the land by using perennial vegetative cover to protect land and water resources that protect land retired from agricultural production. My studies show there's no evidence of the panels leaking unless they are dismantled.
I would like to know who would be maintaining the landscape underneath the panels if the land is not used for dual purposes, and who would be funding this maintenance.
There will be 2 to 3 people employed to keep the landscape in tip-top shape, and our company will fund keeping the land clean.
We've talked about the impact on farmland and the impact on water, but what effect do solar panels have on the health of those living nearby?
There are studies saying that my home being located in the same vicinity as these solar fields can receive dirty electricity from the panels converting power from direct current to alternating current, which is a form of electrical pollution. The solar panels can also cause health issues to anyone living around them, which are neurotransmitter issues and chronic stress. Also, the panels create noise, which can be disturbance in the surrounding area. Therefore, having solar panels being placed around my home can decrease my home value due to the scenic view and peace in rural areas being disrupted.
What do you mean by neurotransmitter issues caused by dirty electricity?
Neurotransmitters is how our brain sends and receives signals throughout our bodies. The dirty electricity is the excess electricity in the air that can disrupt this part of our body.
There are many setbacks in the proposed ordinance revision in place to keep the solar project as safe as possible. This means the solar panels need to be a certain distance from roads and property lines, which range from 200 to 900 feet. In addition to the 800-foot setback from country roads and 900-foot setback from state highways, there will be an 8-foot-high privacy fence with a greenbelt surrounding the fence. A greenbelt is a line of shrubs and trees to help maintain the scenic view of your township and could potentially help to be a natural buffer for the decibels produced by the solar panels.
Well, Carly, in this situation, rather than just focusing on your home value, thinking about your community is also important because during the time frame of construction, it will generate $11.3 million and create 130 local jobs.
But these statistics you're speaking of are only for the building side, not the whole lease contract. I think that you're one side in this issue because you're profiting personally through the entire lifetime of the project.
Ms. Egging will make yearly profits from her solar lease of her land. However, when Watertown Solar is in operation, it will pay $20.8 million worth of local, county, and school district property taxes over the project's lifetime. Furthermore, you are correct that some of these jobs are temporary, but there will also be people hired to maintain the solar fields, which will be permanent positions.
Putting these solar panels in our township can stop any further growth of local businesses and residents adding to our township. And putting them this close to the city of Sandusky, it can box in the town and stop any further growth to the southern border.
A frequently asked question throughout the township is what will happen to the panels when they're no longer useful. Are there any comments on this?
Up to 90% of the used materials can be recycled, as well the person responsible for deconstruction must submit a decommissioning plan to the township before the building begins.
Have you thought about the wells that were dug to keep the panels clean during operation? Wells cannot be moved out of fields easily and will be a pain to farm around.
When this project concludes, the wells could be beneficial for the future renter of my land because it would be set up for things like irrigation. The wells will be placed in convenient location for future use.
Are there any further questions or comments before this meeting is adjourned?
We all need to remember that the whole reason behind this solar project is to create more opportunities for green, clean, and efficient energy. Coal burning energy plants alone generate 42% of the mercury emissions in the United States, 2/3 of the sulfur dioxide emissions, and a large amount of the soot in the air.
Our rural township is one of the closest open areas to the bigger cities that are in need of a clean energy source. Why not have our community financially benefit from this opportunity?
In my opinion, our rural area is not in need of the enormous amount of energy. It is the surrounding urban areas that are in need. Solar panels can be placed on top of large buildings in cities and in parking lots. For example, the large carport structures on Michigan State's campus are a better alternative than on our farmland.
There are also many factories, large storage buildings, and farm buildings that these solar panels can be placed on in our rural area.
We're almost out of time for our meeting. Thank you all for attending and helping us better understand the many different aspects to look at when considering a revision on our guidelines for solar fields in Watertown Township. I would now like for each of you to stand and summarize your main points regarding your views on solar fields in Watertown Township.
Pro, solar fields will be a great way to produce more clean energy, which will be beneficial to your community as well as many individuals. In addition, the land the solar fields are placed on can have multiple agricultural purposes while they're in production.
Con, solar is a good source of clean energy, but not on our prime farmland. There are many misconceptions about the dual use of the land under the panels.
Pro, having solar panels in our township would help strengthen our community financially. They give us a source of clean energy while still being able to raise crops and livestock around and under the panels.
Con, wind turbines are a better alternative for our area because they take up less acreage while producing the same amount of megawatts. Also, the dirty electricity created by the panels can cause health issues to anyone living around them.
As you can see, there are many pros and cons to this issue. We will not be solving the debate today. We will take all of your inputs into consideration as we look to make changes to our township solar ordinance. Thank you all for your time. Timekeepers now concludes our presentation.
Well done.
Chairs up here and then stand in that corner to ask questions.
I feel like they really had a dog in a fight.
Yeah.
You just sit next to it. Okay, I think I should stand up there, yeah. As whoever wants to ask questions.
Gotta behave, Stan.
Any questions you guys may have?
I have two questions.
Okay.
For your panel here. You mentioned that solar provides service to, could provide service to 38,000 homes. Is that locally or statewide?
All the energy from these solar systems are going into the big ITC lines that were put up a couple years ago, and those will go to the grid and then disperse
Statewide
to
and
wherever.
whatever.
Yes.
Okay, all right. And then the second question is, after the duration of the panels for whatever time frame that is, 20, 30 years, who cleans that up and who's responsible for that and putting it back in the farmland?
The solar company is responsible for all decommissioning, as well as they do have to submit a decommissioning plan prior to building. So then they don't just leave everything there.
So that's signed right up front before, okay.
Yep.
Is there a general time frame on the decommissioning?
It has to start 6 months after the project concludes.
Okay, so 6 months after, and then how long is that? Is there an average that they have as far as how long it occurs?
Not that we've come
Not-
across.
Okay,
Yeah.
you know, 20 years, 30 years?
No.
Probably less than
Is there a requirement for a performance bond for the decommissioning of the?
That's what I was.
Is there a real?
Something you might want to check into
Good
is
question.
typically, I know from a township level, we require a performance bond to be set aside. So the company would have to put so much money, dollars aside in a separate bond. So let's say they go out of business, well, that money is still sitting there to decommission the project.
Yes,
And-
there is.
Yeah, the township does have that, as well as like, let's say the solar company goes bankrupt before the lease is done. Then you're left with all these panels. They do have either the solar company or the township will have a bond set in place in case that happens.
Thank you for that. They had not heard the language before.
Yeah, we have
They knew
not
that they had
heard.
money set aside for that in case that happened, but that legal they had not heard.
I thought so.
You said they have to do 5 locally, 5 presentations locally.
Correct.
What number is this one?
4.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
So one more to go.
Yeah, one more to go next week, next Monday.
Well, you were very convincing, I will say. I felt like you guys were ready to go at each other. That was pretty enthralling.
Yeah, I don't have a question. I have a comment. I'm impressed. I've served on a planning commission that went through issues very similar to what you guys are talking about, and I was having flashbacks. Felt like I was right back there. I was really impressed that I don't have a question because you guys, for the most part, covered most things that we would expect to come up in that scenario. So job well done.
Yeah, great job.
Very good.
Now, Ms. Schluter, you mentioned that this is the only thing that this happens where they got to do presentations.
Yeah, and all of the other FFA contests, demonstration, public speaking, extent public speaking, things like that, they don't have to go through local forums. They just, go do whatever practices they want. For whatever reason, in this ag issues contest, they make you do these local forums and present.
Well, this is fabulous. I think
Oh, I
the
think it's
experience
great
that
for them,
you'll have for the
absolutely.
rest of your life speaking
Yeah.
in public like this.
Yeah, they might be freaked out right now, but yeah, later on it will.
Jen, is there a time frame? Too short or too long? They have to stay within?
They have to stay within 10 to 15 minutes, and they've been falling right at about 11:30, 11:45, so they're within the time frame. And then at contest, they will get a strict 5 minutes of questions. So if the judges come up with a bunch of questions, they get cut off at 5 minutes so that it's equal for all of the teams. So.
Yeah, last time that's not.
Last time the
Well, at the last, yeah,
the timekeeper didn't realize, so they were asking questions for like 12 minutes and they're like, okay, we're out of questions.
yeah. That person didn't know their job and they were the first one up. So
Great job,
Well
ladies.
done.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Keep us in the loop on how you do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Keep us in the loop on how you do, okay?
You all do get along.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Well done.
That's okay.
Oh, right there. Yeah. They all do.
Yeah.
I would not. That was impressive. All right, if there's nothing further, I entertain a motion to adjourn our meeting.
Move to adjourn.
Sport.
We have a motion and support.